work and why maybe spending billions of dollars on toll roads is not the answer. So first of all, please join me in welcoming the impressive Mehreen Faruqi to give you a bit of perspective.
Thank you, Jenny, and welcome, Scott, and hello, everyone. And like Jenny, I have been absolutely privileged and honored to stand with you all and many others in the community over the last 5 or 6 years, I think, since we started our campaign for better and more connected public transport and against this terrible toll road agenda, which continues on today. Tunnel ahead, windows up, recycle air. So this was the sign that I saw as my car disappeared into the Lane Cove Tunnel this morning. And I think this sign does tell quite a bit of the story of the toxic toll roads we have in Sydney, a city that we all love, but that is actually set to become the toll road capital of the world in just the next 5 years. So we know the West Connects and North Connects already started. We know there is planning and quite in-depth planning underway for the South Connects, also known as the F6 extension, the Western Harbour Tunnel and the Northern Beaches Tunnel. And we do know that they're going to cost us upwards of $50 billion. But the government is trying to say to us, oh, well, don't worry about that. It's not your money that's going to pay for these toll roads. It's, private corporations. But we are all much more intelligent than that. We will not be conned by that because we all know that it is utter bullshit. It is, and there's no other way to describe it, to be frank, because we know that on every count, and on every account, it will be the people of Sydney and the people of New South Wales who will pay many times over for this really dangerous and outdated infrastructure. So of course we will pay through our taxes, we will pay through tolls, we will pay and are already paying through the loss of our homes, our public parks, our green spaces, our very, very old and majestic trees. And of course we will pay with our health when those toxic, polluting gases come out those smokestacks near our homes, near our kids' schools. And you know what? I was reading some data on air pollution. In every single OECD country, air pollution is going down, but in Australia, it's going up, and deaths from air pollution are going up, and they are mainly attributed to road transport. That's a fact. Long term, of course, we are going to pay because of the greenhouse gases that are going emitted by more and more cars on roads. And long term also, unfortunately, if this agenda goes ahead, which of course we will not let happen, we will actually be paying because these toll roads will suck up all the money that we have for good integrated cycleways, for walkways, for public transport, not just in Sydney, but across all of New South Wales. And I think that's a fact that more and more outside of Sydney in regional areas are realizing. So that's what's at stake, and that's what we're fighting against. And that's why we have such a strong movement to fight against it. Because as the tentacles of these toxic toll roads tighten their hold on our lives, more and more of us are understanding that transport is not about getting from A to B. Transport is actually about how we live our lives. It's how we socialize. It's how we get to the hospital. It's how we work. It's how we go to school. And the future of our generations, the future of our planet depends on this. And that's why so many people, I think one of the most common questions I get asked out in the public is, we know all this. Surely the politicians know all this. Surely the government knows this. So why do they keep persisting on their agenda? And, I have a little bit of an analysis of that, and I'm sure you're familiar with that. And I think, first and foremost, I do put it to a way of thinking, a way of framing problems, an ideology, if you might say. And that was very succinctly described by Tony Abbott in his book when he wrote, "A humble man is king in his car." I think there is no doubt that there is part of that agenda panning out. But of course, there is also no doubt that the cozy relationship, the influence of the big end of town, the tolling companies like Transurban and the financiers, is massive, not just on the Liberal government, but also on the Labour Party. It's not a hidden fact that Transurban has been a substantial donor for many years to both Labour and Liberal parties. And we do know that Transurban has the vast majority of toll roads, not just in Sydney, but across Australia. They make hundreds of millions of dollars each year, profits in tolls. And I think that's why it's so important to expose this agenda, all these hidden little secrets behind closed doors. And that's an important part of what the Greens do, both in state parliaments and in federal parliaments as well. So recently there's been an inquiry happening in New South Wales Parliament on toll roads, and I've been sitting on it. And we've kind of been able to expose things like in contracts that the government has with Transurban, there are often many no-compete public transport clauses. So, if they build this road, then there will be no competition from public transport. And if the government wants to change those clauses, they have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars extra to do that. We know that Transurban has put in unsolicited proposals for almost every single thing. They keep extending tolls, although the government tries to tell us that it's a user pay system for toll roads, but it's not actually, when people driving on the M7 are actually going to pay to build the North Connects. There's no connection as such between the two roads. That's exactly what's going to happen on the Harbour Bridge. With the extension of tolls on the Harbour Bridge, those people will be paying for the Northern Beaches tunnel. They may or may not ever use that particular tunnel. We know, for instance, for North Connects, we know that trucks will be fined if they don't use North Connects. So that's one part of it. But if they don't use North Connects, the government will pay our public money to subsidize Transurban as well. It is a crazy, it's a game for them. We can see it's a game for them, but we will not be used as pawns in that game. And I think if WA can do it, if Victoria can do it, and I know that Scott's going to talk about that quite a bit today, then surely we can do it too. It is much harder for us, I must admit. It is much harder for us, and one of the reasons for that is, and I'm going to say it like it is, Labour is piss weak. Yes. I'm sorry, but we have got to admit that. That is a hurdle, that is a real hurdle that we face. And we have to push even harder to get them to come on board. Because if we don't, then the whole future for us, for our children, for the planet, for Australia, for New South Wales is at stake here. Because what we want is for this money to go into making livable, sustainable cities that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mehreen. And I think in the same way that maybe we may be disappointed by where Labor is, and I think we'd all much prefer you were the Transport Minister than standing there trying to hold other probably quite pathetic Transport Ministers to account when it comes to what's happening in New South Wales. So thank you so much.